All right, you guys, welcome back to the channel. I just want to say thank you for the support and all the likes, subscribing, and sharing the videos. It makes a difference, especially in these modern times. But what do you think about a 50-year mortgage? That sounds like some sucker shit to me. But let's take a deep dive.
Tonight in our deep dive, move over 30-year mortgage.
Now, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that the quote-unquote American dream? But wait a minute. This is not America. I could tell this is somewhere in Europe. I could tell by the style of housing. But the mountain drop in the background is just gorgeous with the clouds over there. The problem is most people want to live in buildings now because most people aren't buying traditional homes like that anymore unless they're keeping it in the family.
The Trump administration is moving forward with the plan to introduce a 50-year fixed-rate mortgage, a reform officials believe could make homeownership more feasible for millions of Americans amid soaring prices and affordability concerns. Now, President Trump first floated the idea Saturday on social media, but not everyone is a fan. Critics warn extending mortgages that long, it can essentially result in people paying far more interest and potentially trap borrowers in debt for a lifetime. Alex Jaquez is Chief of Policy and Advocacy at Groundwork Collaborative and previously served on the White House National Economic Council. Alex, thank you for joining us. Now, extending a mortgage from 30 to 50 years, it could potentially drop the monthly payment, but there are drawbacks.
So 20 more years of interest added on? Not bad, right? So basically, at this point, if you're not a trust fund baby, you're fucked. You're triple fucked. You fucked for the rest of your life. So you're either going to rent rooms from older people for the rest of your life, because most people are going into this dink bullshit to where they'll get married, but they're not having kids. They'll adopt dogs and a bunch of other stupid shit, right? They're going against the grain. Most people are going to go against the grain. More people are going to become digital nomads and move to Vietnam and Philippines, to other third world countries that are less fortunate. But then you're messing things up for those people as well. But whatever.
What are they?
That's right. So Trump is obviously trying to find an answer on affordability for housing, which right now we're seeing one of the worst housing markets that we've seen in recent times. And so the 50-year mortgage is a play to lower people's monthly mortgage payments. But the downside is, especially early on, all of that payment will be going to interest. And of course, since you're paying over 50 years and not over 30 years, you're going to be paying off that mortgage for a lot longer. So the details are still to be worked out, but it looks to be like...
I mean, it's still livable, but you're just going to have to be a sucker for a little bit longer. 2 more decades of being a sucker. Wow. So the problem is they're telling everybody not to buy cars and not to get into a car note. But then the experts are telling people that they have to buy houses and shit. So doesn't a house cost more than a car? You could always take the car back. That's the argument. Once you get stuck in a house that you can't afford, the only way to really get rid of it is to lose it. And that's going to make your credit bad and everything else, because people aren't able to turn over houses quick enough like that before losing it. And it's like the average person is 2 or 3 payments behind on the mortgage. So getting a mortgage is not really a flex, because the average person buys everything off of credit. So I don't see what the big deal is. That's why I said, if you're fortunate enough, you're a trust fund baby and you have homes that are kept within your generation of family. If you're lucky, but the average person doesn't have that.
The president's looking for a quick fix to a market that is fundamentally broken right now.
Now, besides a potentially lower monthly payment, are there any other potential advantages for homeowners?
Well, if you're refinancing, you lock in a low rate for a long period of time, like those who managed to refinance when interest rates were low during the post-COVID era. Locking in those rates for a 50-year time period can, of course, be advantageous. Of course, most people do not spend 30 or 50 years in their home and tend to refinance or sell after 7 to 9 years. And so there would clearly be a lot of buying and selling within that 50-year period, but it's hard to estimate exactly how this new mortgage product would impact the market right now, given that housing starts are so low, given that the sales turnover right now is so low, and that consumers are extremely depressed. We saw consumer sentiment numbers last week that were the second lowest recorded of all time. So families are not buying right now.
Gee, I wonder why. Everybody's losing these tech jobs. Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, all these major tech giants did massive layoffs. So if people are losing their jobs, how the hell are they going to be able to sell these homes like that? The average person's job is at risk. It's like the only safety and job security you really have is if you're a unionized employee doing some kind of blue collar work. Plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians. Those are the only jobs that are going to pretty much be the most secure, because we need those people to keep America rolling. Like, come on now. The office will be a sweaty swamp without these HVAC technicians. So it's like they can't just lay off everybody just to save money. So basically, healthcare and transportation is going to be your best bet as far as job security, let alone those other blue collar professions. It's the white collar professions. It's the, most of those office tech jobs, directors, all those jobs. Those jobs are the first to go before anybody else's. So the man at the bottom is pretty much going to keep his job longer than the man at the top.
Now, the administration, they're suggesting that the 50-year plan would break the housing market gridlock and eventually even lead to cheaper housing. Is that accurate?
It's certainly possible, but it's hard to see the impact right now. Of course, because you've got those lower housing starts, you're having fewer houses being built. And so right now, adding more mortgage buyers to the market is going to bid up prices on the inventory that exists. And housing prices are already going up, clearing about $450,000 median home price, even though people are still struggling to buy. So you could be throwing gasoline on the fire on these rising home prices.
Yeah, on top of that, like after taxes and all the hidden fees and everything, the price is going to climb up to easily over 700,000. So the average person is barely getting by as it is.
Prices.
Now, what are the major reasons on why housing is so expensive here in America?
Right now, the main thing for people trying to buy a home right now is the interest rate. Mortgage rates, the 30-year is sitting at about 6%. So the Federal Reserve has started to cut interest rates, but have indicated that they might be cutting back in December's meeting. And so if these interest rates are high and you have a number of people who managed to get low interest rates in the COVID era, you are just not seeing a match of buyers and sellers. Additionally, in many places, particularly the large coastal and metropolitan areas, we simply have not built enough housing. We have run under trend in the housing that we need to add since the global financial crisis, and we need to be adding millions of more units to really make a dent in affordability.
All right. Now, the average first-time home buyer is now 40 years old. That's as close an age to when they can begin getting Social Security as to when they graduated high school.
Whoa, did you hear that? So who the hell wants to be a first-time buyer at 40? Then you turn around and start a family at 45. Like, everything is just taking too long because everything is just too damn expensive thanks to corporate greed and everything else. It's like, what's the point? What's the point? And it's like, if you don't plan on starting a family, what's the point of buying these homes? You could have just got a tower luxury apartment, a penthouse,
So is there any reason for optimism here?
Well, certainly we've seen a shift now, and of course the older cohort will be retiring. They will be, in some cases, passing on. They will be selling their homes down to younger generations, but it's really difficult to see right now for younger borrowers in particular in the near term how they are going to be able to afford a home.
They won't be able to. They'll be too busy on drugs and shit. Basement dwellers. Like, a lot of these trust fund babies, they're basement dwellers. So being that they're entitled to not do their best, they're not going to keep a job for very long, and they're not going to hold on to the responsibility of paying taxes on a paid off house. Because most people that inherit their family's properties and everything, they end up losing it because they forget that they still have to pay taxes on it. That's just how stupid these young people are.
And of course, that impacts things like family formation, like settling down and getting new jobs, like moving for new opportunities if you can't afford the housing in the places you want to live.
Bingo! He said what I was just talking about. Settling down. These people, this new generation of young people, they do not want to settle down. They don't. Every day is the weekend for them. I mean, life is all about having fun, family, making money and all that, right? Enjoying your hobbies. But when it comes to getting serious and settling down with one person, that's not on a lot of people's list. So it's like the next generation is pretty much doomed, cooked. If that, it's just going to be a lot of single mothers in apartments and shit. So really, these homes are going to sit for a long time. That's why they're slowing down on the building, just like they're slowing down on car manufacturing. Who has money to buy these new cars? Who has money to buy these new homes? So all this new shit is just going to sit. And all the older homes are going to be occupied and pretty much turned over to whoever's else left within that family bloodline. This is Kai Laveo. I hope you learned something. Very interesting, though. We went from 30 to 50 years. Nice try, Diddy. So you want people to work until they're 90. And look back, what a waste. Goodbye.